What up? What up, guys? It's your boy Dray Bee Rambo. Today, I'm going to talk quickly about paying off debt. I'm not an expert at paying off debt, but here on the Dray Bee Rambo show, we talk about entrepreneurship and we talk about fighting and all that kind of stuff, which I think are very correlated. Anyway, point is, I've been paying down my debt. I've been paying it down. I paid off a couple of credit cards. I'm on my last credit card. And then I have one more loan that I'm paying off. I took out a loan to help me start my auto detailing business, about $2,500. Stupidest loan I ever made. The interest rate, if I don't pay it off, if I pay it off within 3 months, is $0. However, if you don't pay it off in that 3 months, your total that you're gonna end up paying over the life of the loan is double. So I took out $2,500 to buy all this equipment and stuff, and I got ripped off, man, big time. I'm not gonna lie, I got ripped off. But if I pay it off within the 3 months, and that's coming up soon, it's coming up in a month. If I could pay it all off in that 3 months, I'll pay zero interest, and then it'll be a win, only because I will not have paid any interest on the money that I took. But if you ever take out a loan like that, just make sure, you're not overpaying for the products and stuff you're buying. Anyway, so today I called a very familiar company called Portfolio Recoveries. This is a company, a debt collection company that everybody knows about. It's a very familiar company, and they're sneaky, so you gotta be very careful, especially if you got old debt that's more than past the statute of limitations. They'll try to get you to say something to restart that statute. Here in California, we have a 7-year statute of limitations, so you want to be careful not to admit or accept it as your debt or admit that it's your debt. I'm not exactly sure what the language is, but they could use whatever you say on those recorded lines to reinstate the statute of limitations. And in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have paid these off. I probably should have paid, because I'm paying off two that were roughly around $4,000 each for less than the amount owed. And it actually helped paying off one of those actually did bump my score up a little bit. So if people tell you, it doesn't really affect your credit score that much, in my experience, it actually, paying off just one for less than the amount owed, I think I paid off like $1,300 for a credit card that I had during COVID that I let go. That was it was for my podcast equipment. It was a credit card. It was like a Sweetwater credit card, and I paid $1,300 on that 3,000 something I owed or whatever it was, and it did bump my score up a little bit. However, on this second one that I have with a Citibank, I ended up settling for, I think, $1,460, something like that, for like $4,000 credit card. So the thing about this is that I wanted to share with you is that I had made that arrangement to pay $1,400, but when the date came around for me to pay that $1,400 off, I didn't have the money. I did have the money, but I was having a hard time letting go of $1,400, especially when I had paying down that other loan. So I called them and I said, hey man, I can't make the payment on this. Can I push it back a month? And I'll make a small payment of $100. So that way, to bridge me, get a couple more paychecks or whatever, or some more money in before I just, blow my wad on, everything I got at this, throw everything I got at. Now, in hindsight, maybe paying it all off, I wouldn't be dealing with it anymore. Like if today I did it again, I called and I said, hey man, I got to push it out another month because I just don't have the money. I do have the money, but if I give them all that money, it's going to put a dent in me. So I told him again, can I just pay off, so I arranged them to pay off $135. And that brought my total down, I think, to $1,200 or something, like a little less than $1,200 that I'll have to pay in a month. And I guess what I'm saying is that, one, paying off debt is, even if it's less for the amount owed, is better than not paying it off at all. I mean, than not dealing with it. It's like I said, I'm trying to buy a house. I'm nowhere near what I need to do to buy a house, but I want to buy a house. And you can't have old debt on your credit. You just can't have that. So, and I gotta get myself up to like a 640. Now, after paying off that other credit card, my score jumped 130 points. I don't know if that's just because I paid that debt off, because I also got myself what's called I got my Open Sky credit card. It's a prepaid credit card, so you put the money on the card and you make payments on it. And one thing I didn't know, because I thought I could just spend money on it and just make payments at the same time, but I screwed myself because I didn't realize that I couldn't make more than 4 payments in a 30-day period. So you gotta be really careful about that too, because I want to pay off the balance right now. I just want to pay it off so I don't have a high credit usage, right? I'll probably be okay because I got other credit cards that, that balance are 0, that it won't really hurt my credit utilization, whatever you call that. So my percentage should still be low, even though on this one particular credit card, my balance is high. I put $500 on this credit card, and then I use it for stuff. I used it when I went on vacation. I used it when I made some purchases to buy some product for my business. And I just swiped it, and I figured, I'll earn points and just make the payments. But turns out you only get 4 in a 30-day period. So I gotta wait till another 10 days before I could pay off this credit card, which is really pissing me off because, I don't want this debt hanging on. I got the credit card so that I wouldn't rack up debt, but just be smart with it. So, it's a learning process, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, if you're trying to pay off debt, I would say first, if it depends on how you want to go about it. For me, I'm trying to be a lawyer, and I'm taking the bar next month, and I don't want to lie to the credit bureaus and say, hey, you know what, this debt's not mine, I never heard of it before. You could write a letter and basically dispute it, saying it's not yours. And what they'll do is the credit bureaus will notify the credit company, like Portfolio, the creditor, and ask for documentation to prove that basically this debt is yours. I got the cops behind me, so I'm trying not to look too much into my camera. They're these sneaky guys. Anyway, so what happens is that the credit agency is not the original creditor, so it's unlikely that within 30 days they're going to be able to comply with the credit bureau and actually provide that information. And the credit reporting companies are required to remove it from your credit report once they fail to actually provide that documentation. Then, but let's just say, so that's only because I want to be honest about the whole thing. So let's just say you're not worried about that, and is this even a cop? I don't think this is a cop at all. It's not even, nope, wasn't a cop at all. It was just a cop looking, it was a car that looked like a cop car. Anyway, so what ends up happening is, if you're trying to, do it the honest way, because the state bar looks into my background, they could check anything, and they could look for anything to find me as a dishonest person. That's the number one thing they're looking for. Are you dishonest? So I decided, I'm just going to pay it off, and I'm just going to pay it off for less than I owe. I don't want to get caught up in, lying on paper where there's a paper trail of me lying about this not being my credit or not being my debt. So, but if you don't give a crap about that, and you're just like, I just want this off my credit report, best thing I think to do, and this is not advice, but it's just what you could do, is you just draft up one of those letters, use ChatGPT to draft you a letter, and send it to all 3 credit bureaus, and they will reach out to the creditor, the debt collection agency, and require that documentation. And when the debt collection agency fails to provide that documentation, what happened to me in the past is they removed it from my credit report. I've actually done this before, And I actually read about it in a book by a guy named Kevin Trudeau. Not the guy from Canada. He is from Canada, but no, this guy is just an author. He's not the president guy, but this guy's an author. Anyway, it was a pretty cool book. The book was actually about like food and like all the chemicals. I mean, this guy was way ahead of it all before all these other people came out about food and all the toxic chemicals they put in our food and all that stuff. Anyway, so that could work. You could do that. You can get that off your credit report. If you want to do that, actually, I can help you with that for a small fee. You can call me, Legal Doc Guy, and I'll assist you for like, I don't know, $50. You pay me $50. I'll draft the letters for you and mail them out for you and all that. You just pay for the mail, postage and stuff. So maybe we're talking like $60, and I could draft that up for you, and we'll send it to the credit agencies, and we'll get that knocked out for you. I mean, it's worth a shot. It's only $50, right? We're talking $50 here. Anyway, I mean, it's not part of my business from Legal Doc Guy. I do divorces and child custody and visitation type matters, child support modifications, all that kind of stuff. That's what I've been doing, family law type stuff. I'm not a lawyer, but I mean, I do the work of a lawyer. Anyway, so the next thing you could do, though, if you want to pay off debt, is you can just call the collection agency and negotiate your balance. They're pretty strict on what they're going to accept and not accept, but generally speaking, they'll settle for about half of what you owe. And as long as you're working with them and communicating with them, you know, they're going to want you to set up your debit card and all that. They try to get me to give them my routing number and all that, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. But they will work with you. So in my experience, I managed to pay, you know, they'll give you less if you paid one lump sum. So they'll basically cut that debt in half or less. And they will set it all up for you. They'll send you an email with all the specifics about the agreement. But what I've been doing is, for the last 2 months, is just telling them, I don't have the money. Can I make another payment? So in other words, I have the benefit of the settlement being at a low price because I originally agreed to pay one lump payment. And then that's how you get them at that low payment. But then I just keep calling them every month saying, hey man, I don't have the money here. Let me give you 150. Let me give you 100. Let me give you this. And they don't they don't say, oh, well, they don't change it. They keep it at that low price. They just want their money, you know? That's been my experience so far. We'll see what happens in month 3 if I could do it again. I'll let you guys know next month. And hit me up if you're interested in knowing what happens. But you could pay off your debt. And you know, you just put a little bit aside every month. Having debt, I paid off one credit card already, and I paid off like part of my student loans, and I've been just paying off debt, you know, focusing on that. I've been saving. I have a savings too, saving a little bit, and I can tell you, it feels so good when you pay off debt. It feels good to get that behind you and just be done with it, you know. And so I'm just telling you, hey, this is what you could do. And it's worth it to pay off your debt. You may think you're never going to own a house. It's too expensive out here. But if that's what you think, then you're right. You're never going to own a house. Not with that attitude. But if you want to own a house someday, you got to have it in your mind that you're going to do it. I've never bought a house before. I don't have anybody to help me buy a house. I'm just going to do it. But let me tell you something. You can do it. It could be done. And there's lots of things people could do. I was talking to somebody yesterday. I forgot who I was talking to. But they were talking about how the Chinese, you know, they work at fast food restaurants and stuff. And who was telling me about this? But it's so true, because I remember talking to a Chinese lady at this Chinese place I used to like to go to. And she was telling me that they all live together. And they all help each other buy each other houses and stuff like that. There's so many creative ways to get yourself into a house. Personally, I like being in control, so I'm a bit of a control freak. I want to have total control over my life and all that, you know. So I'm doing this all by myself. But inch by inch, man, inch by inch. Like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, I didn't have a savings. I didn't have anything. I didn't have no accounts, no nothing. I just worked like a dog and didn't save money or do anything. And lately, I still have bills and stuff, and I still have people to support. But I do that, and then I just save and save. I minimize the things that I want. I stay away from things that cost me money, except this right here. I really got to cut this out. I mean, I'm spending $5, $10 a day drinking stupid coffee. I quit for a while, and then I started back up again, man. It's like the worst thing ever. Anyway, so oh my god. So anyway, I'm like, paying off debt feels good, guys, and you know, making goals, setting goals, and actually completing those goals feels good. Making this video is a goal for me because, man, I suck like at making videos, and that's another thing I gotta stop doing, negative talk. I'm the best video maker ever. I'm the best video YouTuber guy ever. Don't you ever freaking forget it. I'm the best. All right, guys. If you were listening, my mom just texted me, "Love you still." I love you too, Mom. Thank you for listening. If you're listening, please like and share the video. If you have questions, please leave a comment. And you know, I'll catch you on my next video whenever that is. I don't know when that's gonna be, but. And spread some love out there, guys. I mean, spread it. Spread as much as you can. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Dray Bee Rambo out.